Hey sister, it's Astara here. Welcome to Cyclical Living 101, Mapping Your Flow. We're going to be taking some time today to get to know the east corner of the lunar magic wheel, the realm of the Seeress. The realm of the Seeress is for child self-healing and connection, and self-care of all forms. For menstruating women, this day is marked by the onset of bleeding. If you're not bleeding cyclically at this time, mark this day with the dark moon, also known as the new moon. In this realm of self-care, especially as bleeding women, we are hormonally wired for nesting in and tuning into our bodies, taking special care to listen to its needs and desires while it is going through this mini birthing process with the release of the stem cell-rich womb lining. This is the time to treat yourself as if you're having a baby. And it is also the time to tune into the needs of your body as if it were your newborn. We and our bodies are especially connected and wired for communication at this time. In fact, the body is usually very loud during those first few days of menses. That said, because of the denatured Western diets and our culturally induced disconnect with our bodies, we often experience this body communication as pain and discomfort more than we may if we were living and eating cyclically. If you're just starting to cultivate a cyclical living lifestyle, creating self-care rituals that focus on listening may be the best place to start. When we feel discomfort and pain, it is our body telling us we're missing something. This is communication from our body intelligence, helping us to see there is a need to be addressed. And so, instead of responding with painkillers or other numbing agents, it's important that we listen, and also that we commit to devoting the time to developing a language with our bodies that will help us understand its needs, so that we can be responsive to discomfort rather than suppressing it. Would we suppress a baby's cries? Or listen to discern the need and then address that? This is not to create any negative feelings around painkillers and the like. However, if you're committed to learning the language of your body, I encourage you to feel first, then medicate. If you can be okay with this, you may soon find that listening allows you to make subtle shifts in your life that will actually eliminate the need for painkiller. Now, the reason painkillers are not necessarily a good friend of listening is because they're really symptom suppressants. And while suppressing our symptoms does make us feel better, it does not address the actual problem. And more than that, it actually disallows us from receiving that discomfort as communication, which could inform our loving response that would, again, potentially eliminate any symptoms that need to be suppressed. Now, that brings us to this stark fact. Listening to our bodies is not always easy. Sometimes it's downright painful. And this can be physical pain or even emotional pain. Really, there's no difference as far as the body's concerned. Both are hormonal expressions that are interpreted as an experience. And so, if we are to understand the language of our bodies, and if we are to cultivate a lifestyle that is in alignment with those needs our bodies communicate, then we must make this sacrifice, this offering of presence and deep, compassionate listening, even when it's not the most comfortable. As you learn more about the lunar magic wheel, you will come to know its multi-dimensional layers. While on one level, it's a guide to help us understand our hormonal needs as energetically dynamic women, it is also a map of archetypes and symbols which can guide us along the feminine hero's journey from child to maiden to mother to crone and back again as the child here in the east corner. As the domain of the child, this first week of our hormonal cycle is all about tending to our inner child. Imagine that we were all raised by someone who listened deeply to us, unconditionally, and did their best to meet our deeper needs from a place of love and compassion. That would be one well-adjusted, confident, loving, and open-hearted child, or so science would suggest. And so, the realm of the Seeress is our time to give this to ourselves, to our bodies, and to our child selves. And of course, one of the best ways we can do this is simply by learning our needs and pouring in accordingly. So, let's get to know what our body is doing and what it needs during the first quarter of the feminine hormonal cycle, represented on the lunar magic wheel in the east corner as the realm of the Seeress. East of East, focus and planning. Hormonally speaking, we are moving from the place of our lowest hormone levels, namely estrogen and testosterone, at the onset of bleeding, and we move toward our peak, which we'll experience at the full moon in 2 weeks' time. This actually creates in us a time of mental clarity and focus, which lends itself well to planning, organizing, strategizing, assessing, and setting intentions for the coming cycle. Now, think for a moment how being mindful of this time in your cycle could be helpful in your life. What type of work tasks do you do that may be best during times of heightened mental clarity? What about goal setting throughout the cycle in general? Making a point to take time each Seeress phase to assess, tweak, plan, and realign for the coming month. This could become a beautiful ritual you create for yourself at each dark moon. What about your finances? Household organization? Are you responsible for accounts of some kind? Coordinating schedules? The spell cycle is a specific process that helps you understand how best to harness the energies of each moon phase for goal setting, witchy style. According to the spell cycle, the dark and crescent moons that make up the east corner are assigned as preparation and declaration, meaning that this is a time to prepare everything we need to carry out our goals for the coming cycle, and for declaring our intentions to bring them into fruition. This moon is followed by the first quarter, which is our dedicated day 1, when we begin the action of our intention, while the moon preceding the east corner helps us to divine our intention. In short, the east corner is for getting all of our ducks in a row, so to speak, for the coming cycle. One of the most easy ways to do this is with the Transwork Purpose Temple, an intentional astral construct that is both received and created and poured into with play and attention, which brings to life in the flesh that which is experienced in the astral. This is big magic, definitely East magic, and it brings in all of the elements of intention, play, imagination, focus, and declaring to the universe what we want to experience. South of East. Pouring into our child selves and sinking into self-love. The South is the realm of love, and when we're looking through the East lens, then we're focusing on self-love and nourishing the inner child. This is a great time to create your womb space altar, a sacred space for you to work with your child self, and an anchor point for all of the work you'll be doing as you listen and learn to understand your natural rhythm and the associated shifts and changes within that will follow as you get to know yourself and realign the conditions around you. Because you're magic like that. If you already have a womb space altar, this corner is for giving her some love and new life. Deep clean her, ask her what she needs, make any adjustments, charge her with song or orgasm, or whatever feels good. This is also a great time to create rituals in honor of your body and your inner child as the life routines that anchor you to yourself. This is the power of ritual. It brings you back home. So, what self-care rituals do you want to integrate into your life during your bleeding times, or this first week of your feminine hormonal cycle? Some things I love to do during my Seeress phase. I like to nest in, slow down, and make my environment more cozy. I tune into my body by being responsive and honoring the needs that are communicated, like eating warm, comforting foods. I like to lady groom. I like to use this as my time to get my eyebrows waxed, to deep clean and trim my locks, to shave if I feel like it, to do a moonblood face mask, to trim my nails, and I also like to paint one of my fingers red to note my sacred time. And I also like to calculate my cycle on the Lunar magic wheel and solidify and plan out my goals for the coming month. The realm of the Seeress is also a great time for meditation, trance work, channeling, accessing the Akashic records, astral travel, and any and all forms of invoking the powers of your imagination, also known as your Akashic awareness. In fact, we can't really talk about the realm of the Seeress without paying respects to imagination. Not just as a figment, but as the portal to the quantum realms and the passageway to draw down from the infinite a specific possibility of our conscious choosing. As the realm of the mind, of focus, of imagination, of new beginnings, of air and wind and seeds of change, it is also the domain of astral magic. That is, first creating that which we wish to experience in our mind's eye, so that we may experience it in the flesh on this plane. And so, do use this powerful sense, imagination, to help you create and cultivate rituals that align with self-love and nourishment. Rituals which hold space for full presence and deep listening. And rituals which will enrich your soul and even get your body to singing. West of East, sound and cymatics. Speaking of singing, that brings us right into the lens of the West, the realm of magic, as experienced in the East corner as sound. If you're not already familiar with the science of cymatics, I recommend a dive in and explore for sure. Basically, we're talking about the relationship of sound as it defines matter. Sound is what creates all structure, and everything we see and experience, everything that is held together with a specific range of frequencies. And if that range shifted, so too would the expression of the physical matter. Okay, so let's take a look at this. The most obvious and everyday example of this we can understand is when we think about hot and cold. High temperature particles vibrate at a higher rate than low temperature particles. Therefore, increasing the temperature of water increases the frequency at which its particles vibrate. Now, let's imagine there's a candle in that water. At first, the water is cool and the candle just floats there, solid. But soon, as we increase the temperature of the water and therefore the vibration rate of the water particles, the candle begins to melt. The increased frequency of vibration changed the form of the candle, which is now a lump of wax. This seems obvious to us in reference to temperature, but it's nothing more than observing the changes that occur when we increase the vibration of particles. Now, we humans don't think of sound as a physical thing, but we do get the ideas of higher pitch and lower pitch. But have you ever observed the changes in water or grains of salt in response to the increasing pitch of sound? Essentially, a pattern is formed almost immediately in response to a tone. And as the pitch of the tone increases, the the complexity of the pattern increases also in direct relationship with the pitch. I could talk for hours about the implications of what we observe through the science of cymatics, but let's focus on what's relevant to our lives, and especially in relation to sound as the magic of the West, which will translate into song as its East expression. Okay, did you know that sound healing is one of the most potent forms of cellular healing? And that the most potent form of sound healing is the human voice? Just take 2 seconds to consider the implications there, the applications. Now, I want to bring this into perspective just one more layer. To truly understand the potency of song as medicine, we have to not only recognize the effect of sound on the cellular body, physical or subtle, but we also must recognize song as encompassing the magic of both sound and word. In the beginning was the Word. This understanding has been expressed throughout every human culture across time in its own way. In the beginning was the Word. That's why the East magic of the crescent moon is declaration. We speak our intentions into existence. And it is also why song is the magic of the East corner. Okay, are you ready to bring it all together into something you can play with? All right, I'd like you to write a little ditty for yourself, something that feels so good when it rolls off your tongue. Just a line or two, don't overthink it. Think mantra with affirmation rules. A short power phrase that just brings it all home for you. Then apply the phrase to a familiar tune and practice till you have it memorized. Now, this song is like a neural rewiring seed, a program you can set to realign your beliefs, your mental pathways, even your physical body alignment, according to something you choose that is healthy and feels good. Use this song like a rescue inhaler in moments of triggers or stress, and as part of your daily ritual and self-care priorities each day. With repetition, and especially with feeling and repetition, you can shape-shift your life with song. How fun, right? And it's also potent magic. If you're having any doubts, just rattle off any commercial jingle that you still know but haven't even heard in like 10 years. If you're in advertising, you definitely know the science behind song and neural wiring. If you collect and use moon blood for medicinal purposes, I highly recommend that you apply this practice in ritual by singing to your moon blood. And guess what? We are growing our moon blood all cycle long, not just when we see it visually. So anytime we're singing and thinking of our moon blood, we're charging her with this sacred subconscious song magic. North of East, our physical needs. Fat, veggies, and lots of slow movement. And finally, we arrive at the northern lens of the East corner, where we take some time to focus in on what our body needs during the Seeress phase of the feminine hormonal cycle. As bleeding women, and in general, this is most likely a time of lower energy, potentially a nesty feeling, wanting to stay in, feeling more inward, and enjoying lots of warm, savory, and even spicy foods. If you do nothing else ritually for this Seeress phase, do carve out some time to slow down, eat well, and go within. Because it's a lower energy phase, I highly recommend adopting a practice of thinking ahead about your Seeress foods, planning, shopping for, and even cooking ahead as necessary to assure you're reaching for warm, nourishing foods that are high in nutrients, good quality fats, and lots of veggies. Spices are definitely a bonus. Go crazy to your body's content. And a slow cooker may be a girl's best friend for these lower energy states. Do not underestimate the versatility of the slow cooker. Okay, here's one important note which comes with the hindsight of watching cyclical patterns over time. Your levels of discomfort versus ease during your bleeding days is influenced greatly by your food choices during the sorceress phase, the realm preceding this one. As the crone, we choose and act for the future, for those who will come after our time has passed. From a shorter time frame, this applies as the crone eating for the health of the Seeress phase, the realm of the child, the new life born of the sacrifice of giving one's life force energy for another. We move into the dark moon in a yang active energy, and for some women, this may feel like a great time for hitting the weights hard or getting in that power core routine. Hormonally speaking, this is a time when our muscles can take the biggest load and we can build strength the most rapidly. We may feel an extra oomph to our workouts, especially in relation to the previous cycle, our sorceress phase, our lowest energy corner. For many others, that will be the last thing on your mind. Count me in that group personally. For those who don't feel supercharged with lots of excess energy and go, or for those who experience varying levels of physical discomfort, rather than going hard, this is a great time to go within and go slow. Slow, sustained movement, flowing movement, even some gentle strength-building workouts like Pilates can be nice. Feel into your body and let her tell you what she wants. Allow yourself to be flexible too, to meet her varying needs for rest and movement. That said, while it can be tempting to not move at all, feeling very heavy and fetally all day, I highly recommend finding ways to get in at least some gentle movement during your bleeding times. And while it may feel counterintuitive to some, being completely sedentary for this week will actually cause more symptoms than relief in the long run. For this reason, I've named Yin Yoga the official exercise of the Seeress realm. If you do nothing else, take some time for the slow, sustained, deep, and releasing movement of Yin Yoga. To make it even more Easty and medicinal, find ways to bring in sound with your movement. Crystal bowls, the second most potent form of sound healing, by the way, can be a great addition to your Yin Yoga routine, helping you stretch even more deeply and gently clearing as you release in your held posture. Yin Yoga is especially great for the bleeding times because of its invitation for deep listening. The body loves to be listened to during Yin Yoga, and if you give her full presence, you may find she tells you stories, brings you memories, and gives you gifts of all manner. Okay, here's a note. It is not uncommon for women to cry during deep yin postures, especially those that open the hips. This is no cause for alarm, but rather to be grateful for, as this is a sure sign of release happening. Allow any tears and expression to the degree that you feel comfortable. We cannot release that which we cannot feel through. Trust in your body's wisdom and allow her to do her work. You will find yourself lighter and freer afterward. The yin and yang of the realm of the Seeress. As you'll discover, each of the four corners is made up of one yang and one yin moon. These words are denoting relational quality, meaning yin is inward in relation to yang's outward. These yang-yin duads dance us all around the lunar magic wheel, taking us on a throbbing ride through our feminine cycle that feels like a period of 3 to 5 outward-feeling days, followed by 3 to 5 inward-feeling days. As we get to know how and when these waves show up, we can create our lives to help us navigate this dynamism with grace and in ways which enrich ourselves and others. The first thing to note is that we enter each corner in a yang energy and then sink into a yin vibe. We also experience these yang-yin duads at varying intensities as we move around the wheel. For example, the third quarter and balsamic moons are the lowest end of the spectrum, while the gibbous and full moon are on the highest end. In the east corner, we are rebuilding from our lowest energy state as we move closer to ovulation, figurative or literal, at the full moon, marking the transition from the second and third realms. In other words, the east corner, although not the lowest yang-yin duad, is pretty low energetically in relation to the following realm, the south corner. Let's take a brief look at each moon phase and the unique energy it brings to the corner. East corner yang, the dark moon. The dark moon, remember, also known as the new moon, as the bleeding moon, marks the beginning of the new cycle, day 0. This is an active, a yang moon, but low in energy relative to the rest of the cycle. This is a great time for nesty actions that are close to home or feel near to center. Small tasks, domestic chores, cooking, and even rearranging may be things that feel natural during this phase. According to the spell cycle, this is the preparation stage. Now, with our intention divined for the cycle at the previous moon, we are to gather all of the materials, instructions, resources, recipes, or anything else that we may need to bring our intention to life. As a bleeding woman, this preparation stage also refers to moon blood collection and storage for use in medicinal recipes. East corner yin, the crescent moon. This lull state may actually feel like an increase in energy in relation to our bleeding days, or the first few days of the cycle. Our hormones are starting to climb from our lowest levels now. We may also be feeling a lightening of all things, an increase in natural optimism, confidence, and a drive gearing up to do the thing. Soon, this feeling will be in full force in the priestess realm. But first, it's time to get everything sorted and situated for the big show, the full moon, so that everything goes off without a hitch. Accordingly, the spell cycle names this moon for declaration, for speaking into existence that which we wish to bring in with confidence, passion, and clarity about what we want. We use this time to buckle down and spell out the spell. We harness this time of peak focus and mental clarity, and we lay out a plan for the coming cycle and put in measures for how we can assure we're steadily moving toward our goals. This is also a time for taking a bigger goal and breaking it down into smaller goals to meet along the wheel. East corner correspondences.